The next item is the review and consideration of Memorandum of Understanding with Northwest Directions to provide mental health services in schools. Mrs. Zardi will speak to that.
So I have included the Memorandum of Understanding itself, along with a brochure or information from a brochure on this particular program. We've been working with Northwest Passage. They run the school up in Black River Falls that we often send students to that are struggling with emotional issues that interfere with their education. And they have been working towards providing school outreach services to Toma for over a year. They have finally hired a therapist who can assist us and provide that service in the school setting. So it is a licensed therapist. Parents would be obviously involved in the decision if they felt that their child could benefit from having a therapy provided at school. We have located a space in each of our buildings where that therapy can be done confidentially. One of the things that we've talked about over the years is that mental health issues are part of the struggles that we're having in keeping schools safe. When you look at some of the school shootings that have happened, it's people that are struggling with some of those mental health issues, and school violence issues can result from those mental health issues not being properly addressed. So we just think it's if we can provide a service, get students help in that regard in our facilities, in our schools, we think that's to our benefit. I know that there are lots of parents that just can't take time off of work to come get their child, take them to the therapist, bring them back to school. Very similar earlier this year when we talked about the dental care. It makes it easier to provide the service and get help for the family and the child if we can offer it in school. There's no cost to our district. This is a program that would be run through the parents if they agree to it, through their insurance companies. We're just helping to provide the service during the school day to students in need.
My question is regarding the insurance. How does that work? If people have private insurance, it might not necessarily cover this particular provider, right? They may, if you have Traditions or you have Gunderson, the insurance would cover services through Traditions or Gunderson. How will this be useful if most parents' insurance won't even cover this provider? I
think the students that we're seeing that will benefit from this are students whose parents utilize Badger Care.
Okay.
They're not families that necessarily have the private insurance, and those are the families that we often see can't get their children to a therapist.
That makes sense. So typically you envision Badger Care insurance being involved. Okay. All right. That answers my question.
How about numbers, Cindy? What kind of a quantity are you talking about? Is there going to be a stipulation on where they'll attend this and how many students will be involved in it? Just open the door and say, if you want this kind of therapy, you can get it?
There will be students who are identified, and then our social workers and counselors will be working with those families.
Right.
I know that in the counselor or the therapists and the company coming to meet with us, that our principals were saying they already had individuals that they know can benefit from this, and families who have indicated that they're interested. They will send a therapist here for as much time as is needed. So if it's 3 days a week traveling to our different buildings, that's how often they'll be here. If it's 5 days a week, that's how often they'll be here. So that is that ends up kind of being their problem based
Yeah.
on our needs, not necessarily what.
Well, you know, think of it as you look at this national level and all these shootings that are happening. They have identified that these people that do it do need mental help. And they've proven that in Connecticut, that he was mentally deranged. And across the board, other people like him have been. So as far as we're concerned here in Toma, I'm glad that this effort has been spearheaded. We need it. We're not exempt from anybody else around the country. It needs to be done.
And again, I think early intervention, the earlier
Right.
you can begin providing help to families and children, the better off.
Exactly.
Okay, I'd look for a motion to approve that memorandum as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the memorandum of understanding with Northwest Directions to provide mental health services in the Toma schools. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries, and that memorandum is, as presented, is approved.